Barrett, yeah. So Josh and Barrett have a motion that we accept their absences as excused. Nicola, second. Luann, all in favor? Any opposition? Very good. You have the minutes from the February meeting. Any additions, comments? Motion to receive. Okay. Samantha, second. Luann, all in favor? No opposition. Very good. Public comment. I think we have Athena.
May not be here yet.
Okay.
She had emailed she was going to come, but yeah,
Okay.
we'll see her again.
All right. We move on straight to see our city council liaison. And anything you would like to say?
Good evening or afternoon, everyone. Something that came up that I was just talking to Urban Taylor about is that as this vacant seat is coming up, what other boards and what I've been talking with other boards about is how do we build and not lose momentum that you guys have started. Other boards have done nominating committees so that we have a better idea. Otherwise, it's 8 counselors kind of picking people that may or may not gel with what the work that you're doing. This vacancy has come up, so I can't stop that in 2 weeks. Right now, there were no nominations put to the table, and it'll be punted until we do put a nomination up. But if you have any feedback, as you guys contemplate whether you want to do something like a nominating committee, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to me and let me know. The first step is that they need to apply on, as everyone here did. And then I always suggest that they send a letter to council at city council members at raleighNC.gov. That way they can tell us, hey, here's like my cover letter. You know, we'll be able to look at their application, but to see their interest and what work they've done before would always be helpful. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. But I look forward to, I don't think we can fill your shoes by any means, but being able to find someone who can begin that journey with us in the city. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilor Christine? All right, on to our SMAC Liaison Planning Commission. Nicola?
Yeah, so I'm going to take the lead for presentation as always. I think there's a few cases here that kind of piqued my interest, especially a lot of them are kind of for information only, but I think that doesn't mean that we can't have further discussion going forward on what that could look like or kind of trends we're seeing. I think it's helpful to stay informed on stormwater issues and, you know, how these rezones can impact them, even if they are just for these specific ones or a handful of them being just for information only right now. But with that, I'll pass it.
Okay, cool. At 5 this week, so, first one is, one we've heard from a neighbor on. It's actually coming up in planning commission. It's coming up week. It's coming up Tuesday on March 11th, which is, C1924 and Edinburgh Road. And there's 4 that were either approved for public hearing or they had their public hearing at city council, this past week. C3824, Villanova Center. I keep wanting to say P and C, so I do during this at all. C4524 is a development off of Litchford. Z1224 is a development at Old Cruise and Old Millbury Road in the east side of town. And then Z4024 is a site in the southeast portion of town near Rockport Road. We'll go through these. First of all, the one at Planning Commission, Z1924 at Elkberg Drive is inside the belt line, just inside, kind of up where Glenwood Avenue, that weird intersection with Glenwood Avenue and Lakeland Trail, you know about it? It's kind of strange little interchange there. It's 3 lots here. They're currently zoned R6, going to OX3 PL conditional use. And it will be a planning commission on Tuesday, like I said. Right now, it's 3 lots going to a model home with a parking area. Eventually, there'll just be 2 single-family homes per their zoning application, but take that for what it's worth. And there is a stormwater project down here. If I zoomed out, it's too tough to see, so I apologize. There's a stormwater project down here at Roosevelt Street, off of Edinburgh and Lakeland Trail. But all the drainage for this area flows actually towards Glenwood Avenue. So staff's assessment from talking to the city PM is that it won't have an effect on the stormwater project, but obviously there could be other issues with this rezoning case. If they truly do use it for a commercial use, which OX3 allows, then for half an acre, anything over half an acre, they would have to comply with our full stormwater rules, which is for water quality with nitrogen, and then also the rate control for 2 to 10 years. If they stay more of a residential use and use it like that with this zoning, they will have a 65% impervious surface limitation. But obviously, the entire 3 parcels are 0.78 acres. So. Any questions on this one? Still a little bit up in the air because it hadn't even made the planning commission yet, but we'll be tracking it.
Just want to make some comments because this is in my district and I've been working with the neighbors that
I should have said
stormwater
that.
project is right, is right down there. And I'm glad to hear that it's not going to affect them. Hopefully will help assuage their fears. But this is a whole neighborhood that is worried about stormwater because they have those concerns. So that's why, if you start hearing from them, but that's their concern.
And there's been a lot of development up of Yarmouth, and Lakewood Trail area, tear downs and rebuilds of existing houses to make bigger houses. And there's not a ton of, as with anything inside the development, there's not a ton of drainage structures or pipes or anything like that. It's there. So, but like I said, we'll be tracking it and it's by now involved. So now, sorry, not too different, but this is just the aerial. There's 1 house on it today, even though it's 3 lots. See that a lot inside the belt line, as you see a lot of ghost lot lines, things like that. So. Next one is the Lenovo Center. This is the bigger zoning case. There's not really any stormwater implications, which you'll see in a second, but I just want to put this on there because it is going to be pretty much talked about bigger zoning case. Just if you guys do hear anything about environmental impacts and things like that. So this is in, this is 80.7 acres and it's the area of the arena that's just kind of the arena and not the football stadium. So it's the parking associated kind of things out there with the arena right in the middle. There's a greenway that goes through here and Gruesome Creek as well. It's in Councilor Harrison's district, District D. Currently zoned CX12 additional use will be going to a planned development district, which means they'll have a various and sundry development standards to hit to in that district. Public hearing is scheduled for April 1st in the evening meeting. Curious one about this one is it technically is part of NCSU's NBDS MS4 permit. So the stormwater permitting is actually under university jurisdiction. I have a couple of things that I want to ask our city attorney about before the public hearing to make sure I have a good handle on how our interaction will be on that. But traditionally, especially on things with state's campus, they will handle all like water quality permitting, things like that. Floodplain, we will still handle because it's it's technically not being developed or controlled by the university. I think we will still handle the commercial control as well. I'm looking to Lauren to make sure I'm not going completely off the rails on that one. But another interesting tidbit about this one from a stormwater standpoint, the site is approximately 59% impervious already. Of the drawings I've seen, which has been the same thing you guys have seen in the newspaper, things like that, they seem to be staying kind of within the existing impervious footprint, but remains to be seen.
And just quickly to add, because I've also spoken to this developer as well as Councilor Harrison, their intent, they're gonna be doing structured parking, to accommodate the stuff, but they are intending to put more green space, on there. So they were like, actually, we'll be giving you more back because they want to change all of that. So that is part of what they have been telling us, just so you.
I have a quick question about that one.
Yeah.
So is this technically considered a redevelopment, under kind of the rules regarding stormwater requirements?
Yes, but anything over their existing impervious, they would have to treat for the full,
So they still have to do additional treatment for
Yeah.
additional
Correct,
impervious,
yeah.
but it sounds like they're gonna have less.
yeah, if they go over the 59%, then yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
But of note, if I could, so this was prior to our city stormwater regulations as well. So the existing impervious is kind of grandfathered in. Yeah, although it is all under the state NBDS permit now.
There. So next one is Z 4524. It's 2 lots off of Litchfield Road. before they get to Fossil News, in the northeast section. 0.88 acres, in Council District B, which is, Council Patton's district. Kind of on the frontage of, Hunting Ridge and Richard Road here, these two lots, currently two separate lots on R4. They're looking to go to a proposed R6 conditional use. That public hearing is scheduled for April 1st as well. Looks to be from application of the proposed townhome project they're putting back. They do have conditional living, they're using 8 units, so that's probably gonna be townhomes on this kind of size. The good news is the existing topo and drainage looks to be outletting to, the existing system in Litchford Road. I know some of the neighbors here during the neighborhood meeting had expressed concern about stormwater issues. So per our new design manual and also for the topo, they will be outletting to this established drainage area here, or drainage structures here. So just want to keep that on your radar because there was some neighborhood concerns about stormwater from this development here, which has been here since 1981. I was shocked to see it was that old when I looked it up. So they've been there a while. Any questions on this? There's the aerial exploded now. I think it's got one house here and the other lot is vacant. And this is one that actually went to public hearing and was approved on Tuesday night. It's Old Cruise Road, Old Vilverde Road. It's about 243 acres out in Council District B as well, which comes from Patton's district. And it was in the county technically, so it had county zoning on it. So there's annexation and a rezoning associated with it. Larger development. One homeowner is coming in to do it. I can't remember the number off the top of my head.
Lennar.
Yes, it's Lennar, coming in to do it. They actually did have some stormwater conditions. They were doing detention beyond the 210-year storm, detaining to the 25-year storm. And they also during construction had offered to do double row silt fencing in all the areas where they would have silt fencing. So that's an added benefit there. And then also reserving a decent amount of open space throughout, like the entire buffer and floodplain corridor, they're gonna reserve as open space. And there's some open space up here for a potential speed park, I believe they're looking at, just reserving. But, yeah, it's gonna be a denser development that is out here currently. There were concerns about, fire coverage issues and Raleigh water serving it. The sewer may or may not need a pump station, I'm not sure on that at the time, because we're not permitting it yet, so. No real stormwater concerns to bring it up, because it is such a large, like rezoning case, almost 250 acres.
Can I just add some context to this one? This was an annexation of 200, like you said, 242 acres. This is something we talked about at our council retreat. So if you have time, and you want to learn about it, go ahead and watch our council retreat and our conversation. We heard from 6 departments of how these large annexations are difficult because we're probably not staffed. We don't have all the resources to go that far out. So it was a point of conversation as we went. It was not a unanimous vote. It was 6-2. So both Councilor Silver and I voted against for the reasons that we just had the conversation at council retreat, that we need to be careful of how we're annexing large plots of land like this. And we didn't think that it was in the best interest of the city. It did pass, so it will become, there is also right there, something that maybe 15 years ago, I forget, Rivertown, which was annexed, and Councilor Silver was the planning director at the time. And he really wished that we hadn't annexed it back then, but because of that, they were able to ask for this annexation. So just giving you some color to that.
If you've ever seen a zoomed out map of Raleigh, there's one area here that kind of looks like a hand over here. That's it's kind of off by itself, so you can see it. So back then it was kind of annexed.
So will they be subject then to the development ordinance?
Yes.
One thing that I think about with the annexations and kind of in places where there aren't existing utility corridors is just what the utility impacts are going to be. And I know that often we don't see that in the initial proposals and site design. But I appreciated that, you clarified that the buffer and the floodplain is not being impacted and that's being retained as open space. I do wonder if there's going to be stream crossings associated with utilities, extension of utilities in that direction. And, when I work in the field, that tends to be one of the most impactful environmental things that can happen is the utility corridors and crossings.
Yeah. And I think one of the issues, I don't know if we got a hand, but I think one of the issues from talking to Raleigh Water was that the sewer is deep in Rivertown. And I'm not sure why it got so deep back in 2005, whatever, but that's an issue they're facing to connect up to Rivertown, which you kind of touched. So that's why they're thinking maybe a pump deal.
And if you look, I'm sorry, but if you look in the staff reports as you're looking through these cases, it'll show which departments say yay or have hesitations. And so there were, I think, 5 or 6 departments that had hesitations on this one. So as we continue and we're delving deeper, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at those, what does staff say? How are we measuring that? And as we grow, making sure that's part of the conversation. So if you are interested in looking at that, make sure to just take a look at what departments feel comfortable with it.
So those departments that,
We were not, because we can technically serve it with our enforcement staff and things like that, so we're not as tied into the service like fire and, solid
Okay.
waste and
Okay.
like Raleigh Water is, but I mean, we can serve it with our enforcement staff and things like that, so. All right, so here's the aerial view of that area, but it's a very large area out in the eastern part of the county. And the next one was Pasture Drive, which is in Southeast Raleigh, like I said, off of Rockport Road. It's 4024. This is 10 acres and it's in Council District C, Council Branches District. And it is currently R6 with shot 1 moving to RX4, which would allow by the 4 definition, it's not like R4, RX4 is more commercial designation, which means it can go up to 4 stories. And it's actually, there's an existing church here. And they own both these parcels of land kind of in the middle of this neighborhood, for lack of a better term, that's already developed. And then there's Southeast Raleigh High School is here, I believe. There's a few other schools like around. So there's a lot of development around it, but this kind of donut hole, for lack of a better term, is kind of here and it's owned by the church. And the church is partnering with a company, with a developer that does affordable housing to build an affordable housing project here that would be 100% affordable housing. Their AMIs would be a range of AMIs, 30% all the way up to, I think they said 80 to Tuesday night. In these areas here upstream and in these areas kind of here downstream. Because of the downstream issues, there is an issue of structural flooding. And so even without a condition on this rezoning, it'll have to detain up to the 100-year storm as soon as they come into permits. So that's something there. And staff has reached out to the upstream neighbors to have a site visit to take a look at kind of the impacts that they're having. And so hopefully we can have an update by the next council meeting, which say defer the public hearing to March 18th. So that's just in a week and a half. So it's coming up. But there were other concerns about traffic, because apparently this part of the Pasture Drive, which is right away, it's pretty much a dirt road right now, it looks like, going in and out. And there's concerns with rock quarry. If you guys have ever been here on Rock Quarry Road, especially during a concert, it's very trafficy. But even without the concerts, there's been a lot of schools that have been placed here, which was a presentation. I didn't realize how many schools were in this corridor now. And so concerns with traffic and safety, but also stormwater. So.
And then I just want to add to hear the council's perspective on it. This is something that's in partnership with that church, and they've partnered to bring affordable housing. So that's a really big benefit that council is really interested in pursuing. But we don't want to ignore the concerns that neighbors are having, and they came to the public hearing to share those concerns. Councilor Branch did decide to hold it so we can address and have answers to those stormwater concerns. The applicant is very amenable to doing whatever needs to be done, but we also want to hold in the same breath that they are an affordable housing developer. So this isn't like a market rate developer. We can just say, oh, do this, and then lose out on the opportunity for that affordable housing. So those are the things that we weigh. And this is one of those cases that's very difficult because we want to bring this, we enjoy the partnership, really appreciative of churches stepping up and really having to be part of the solution for affordable housing. But this is one of those cases that had other concerns that might prevent it from moving forward.
Like I said, this is not something we commonly see around like a large area like this in the middle of a developed area. Yes, I just want to show the aerials.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ben. Wayne?
Okay, we have no stormwater staff update today. Moving to high priority topics, we do have an update from the floodplain team. And I think they have some good news to share. Ben and Seamus, please feel free to come up and share your news.
You have good news. So last time we were here, we talked a little bit about CRS and how we applied to the CRS, which is the community rating system. It's a program that is administered by FEMA. It's under the National Flood Insurance Program. And it's basically the purpose of the program is to encourage communities to go above and beyond the expectations of the National Flood Insurance Program as far as floodplain management goes. The more you do, the more of a reward you'll get. And in this case, the reward comes in a way, it comes in a flood insurance premium discount for everybody in your community. So anybody who has an active flood insurance policy, there are two caveats. But basically, anybody who has an active flood insurance policy will get whatever discount is assigned based on the class that we are rated when we go through our initial visit, which we did. We went through our initial visit and we were waiting and we got word just recently what we will be. Just as a quick recap, this map on the left shows you the distribution of, this is 2022, I haven't found a new one yet. So these numbers are a tiny bit off. These numbers up here are a tiny bit off. These should be pretty spot on now, but so you can see these communities are everywhere, not just coastal communities at all. You can see right up here on the graph on the right that this is showing you the number of CRS communities by FEMA region. So obviously we're 4 here. I don't know if this little pointer yet. So we're 4 here, and you can see that by far region 4 has more CRS communities than any other region. I mean, dramatically so. And just little like pull out here, Florida has 245 communities, CRS communities. California has 98, and North Carolina has 103. We're number 3 as far as the number of CRS community goes per state. So that's a big deal. I'm kind of surprised. This is the discount. So if you are awarded, so once you go through your visit, which we do, it takes forever and ever and ever. We finally did it. We finally heard back. But once you go through your visit, you're eventually assigned a class. So if you're a class 7, then every single person in your community that has a flood insurance policy will get 15% off. The reason why these are up here like this, I don't know if you guys remember last time, I could probably delete one of these, but before this program called Risk Rating 2.0, which was the way that FEMA used to assign risk and generate premiums, if you were outside the special flood hazard area, you could still get a discount, but you could only get a maximum of 10%. So it didn't matter if you were in a community that was class 5, if you were outside in zone X, you get a 10% discount. So anyway, with the new system that came on in 2022 called Risk Rating 2.0, everybody gets the same discount no matter where you are. So if you're class 7, then everybody would get a 15. If you are class 5, everybody get 25% off their flood insurance policies. Huge, obviously. Okay, so I put a little animation here, so I don't forget. So for the city of Raleigh, and this very short, city of Raleigh, our CRS rating, and just as I just want to recap these real quick. So the number of CRS communities in North Carolina, 103, that's a lot. The number of CRS communities that are class 5 or better in North Carolina, there's only 11 out of 103. So we just received our class rating, and so the city of Raleigh's class rating effective October 25 will be a class 5, which is a really good. That's it. So going back to this slide, you can see class 5 will be a 25% discount for everybody in the community that has a flood insurance policy. The only caveats are: 1, if you are in direct violation of FEMA, like if you did elevate, or if you did a substantial damage without elevating compliance, then you would not be eligible. Or if you are on what's called the gliding path. So under the old program, when they moved to the new one, by law you can only go up 18% each year. So if your increase was going to be larger than 18%, then you were going to be put on a glide path. And until you reach a glide path to your full risk rate, and until you reach that, then you were ineligible for the discount. However, in this region, there's not a lot of that. That's something that you saw big of people on glide paths when risk rating kicked in that were coastal. Everybody coastal, you know, you went from policies that were $400 to $3,000. So a lot of them are going to be in the glide path for over 10 years. But so yeah, anyway, so we just wanted to bring that news to you. The reason why we haven't come before council yet, which we will at some point, I would imagine, is that this is a FEMA, we're waiting for FEMA to stamp our thing, which should be in October. We already know what it's going to be, but officially we're waiting for that to come back from FEMA, although we've gotten all of our preliminary letters saying that you'll be class 5. So with that, just a couple of things that Wayne and Ben and I and Allison were all just talking about. Based on old numbers, of course, I had this thing here the whole time. Okay, so based on numbers from last year, so I will say everybody saw a huge drop in the number of policies after risk rating 2.0 kicked in, and that's because policies went up a lot. They went up significantly. So a lot of people who were in Zone X or who didn't have a federally backed mortgage no longer had that requirement, and so they dropped their policies. A lot of people. So anyway, as of last year, there were more. So the reason why I said that is because before risk rating 2.0, I think that there was about double the number of flood insurance policies in the city of Raleigh. But as of last year, there were 1,152 active flood insurance policies, over 1,209,000 in premiums, and then with the 25% discount, that would be a savings of over 300,000 for the residents with active flood insurance policies. So that's big. But we will make it a lot bigger. There's other things that we're developing. There's something called a program for public information, which is all about promoting flood insurance and getting more and more people into the program, especially renters. That's a huge market that we are not tapping into that significantly yet. So anyway, we got big moves and big plans going, but we wanted to bring that to you. And we also made a couple of little hand-me-outs for the members and for our council representative as well. So anyway, we just wanted to bring that to you and let you know there will be more to come. If anybody has any questions. Yeah.
For those, and maybe I'm mistaken, but for those people who already have flood insurance, is this automatically taken and it's already automatically deducted, and they need to go in half?
They do not. So FEMA says that they do not, and that come October, as soon as that's stamped, it should be automatic. However, I used to be the floodplain manager for a place in Louisiana, and when our rating kicked in, even though that was supposed to happen, it didn't necessarily happen for everybody. So while it's supposed to happen, we certainly will be putting some type of messaging out there to make sure that everybody's aware that they should see that immediately in their next declaration page.
Well, I can't wait to come to council, and then we'll just.
Yeah, we're excited for it.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Anybody else?
Yeah, if I could just make a couple of comments. This is a really big deal. Seamus and Allison, we invested in this new floodplain group, and you all helped support that as the council the last few years. So, this is already paying off for our community. I want to acknowledge Ben and Lauren Witherspoon too. There has been a number of over years efforts that have contributed to this. The floodplain regulations that we updated in 2022 gave us lots of extra points. The flood early warning system you've heard from Kelly Daniel gives us lots of extra points in that awareness that we bring. I want to recognize Ariel Bushell. Communications and outreach is a huge part of the points that we earned in order to get this rating. So it's been a group effort. And I'm missing people I know, but I just want to acknowledge this has been a team effort over many years, and all the support that the commission and council has given us is really helping this to pay off. And we're going to keep going, because the next big step, as we've been forecasting, is to get the cooperating technical partner designation so that we can draw our own floodplain maps, and that will even help give us a better rating over time. So big step, but this is just the start too.
And to that point, you don't come into this program normally ever at a class 5. Like normally when you come in, you start at a 9 or maybe a 7 at the most. So coming into class 5 really is indicative of how much has already happened, how much has happened for a while, how much the city's doing. And to the point about the CTP program, the Cooperative Technical Partner Program with FEMA, we finally started those meetings. So that's all underway. Lots of good stuff. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. I don't know that I can follow that up, but I'll try. A few public meetings, we'd like to announce, and just another note, you can always go to the events, calendar on RaleighNC.gov, but a few I wanted to note, we have our Lions Park Green Stormwater Infrastructure Public Arts Tabling Engagement event. That's, on Saturday, March 22nd. Please attend if you are able. Reminder, we are, about to start Creek Week, and Creek Week focuses on promoting the importance of healthy streams, water quality, aquatic habitat, stewardship opportunities, and a number of events. Cleanup at Worthdale Park on Saturday, the 15th of March. A biothon at Meadow Park, which you all are familiar with, on Thursday, March 20th. A live stream staking with our drainage assistance team. Dominic Small has been leading that staking in workshops. So there's an opportunity at Durant Nature Preserve on March 22nd. And then also on March 22nd, a rain garden and rain barrel workshop at Durant Nature Preserve, sponsored by the Stormwater team in partnership with Park. So lots of good events coming on. And of course, April 25th is Earth Day. There'll be a big Earth Day celebration at Dix Park. And the Capture It winners will be announced. And you all will be voting to determine those winners here shortly later in this agenda. So always an exciting time. And please read through, we are in this stage that we are starting to gear up a lot more construction. We've been doing a lot of design, so a lot of construction projects are starting up here, and that will continue. So here's a list of number of them. I won't read through them individually, but want to make that notification to you all. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Wayne. Any questions? Before we move on to rainwater rewards, I know Ms. Wolin signed up for public comment. So I invite you forward at this time. Yep. And so we have 5 minutes for that.
I'm gonna try to. I'm trying to continue conversations about how we can access more of the 700 miles of creek that we should all become stewards of. And I have concerns that the majority of the time, we don't have funds that work. Concerned that if we keep looking at creeks, these are the property lines, and such and so forth. And we believe that the creek, it continues to behave as it was throughout the duration of all our time. And whatever buffer will be continued indefinitely. But realistically, we are not considering the three-dimensionality of it, the connectedness of it, and the fact that we will have a very established tree canopy and root system that holds the stream bank in check. Madness, right? It makes sense. Does it? It's okay. My goal and hope is that we need to remember the arbor system along these streamwater creeks. It already gives us the asset of tree canopy, and we've done canopy studies and we know how valuable the shade canopy is. This is an established ecosystem that gives us root density. And this root density holds all the soil in place so that we do all the development we want. But if every individual lot and neighborhood is looked at individually, then we have a situation where all these really healthy trees over here, on this side, with all the roots going down this way, as that gets cut down, root system dies, these get cut down, root system dies, and what's holding our stream in place? We can minimize and mitigate the cost of reparation for failed creek systems by trying to approach things in a conservation effort
And I want to keep challenging how we approach that conservation or how we approach managing development along streams with conservation in mind. Partner with developers, ask them to take the downed material or whatever they're planning. Give it to me, let me work it back into the creek. Whatever it takes to keep those materials in the neighborhood, rehabilitating the creek system that is already there. I'm continuously challenging how we can manage more of that creek system to allow people like me to go through and do stream walks. There are so many city programs that do that with our greenways and with our public access. But if we start trying to figure out how to manage privately owned creeks, it gets complicated. I've been inquiring about land trusts, what it would look like if this became an easement. Let's keep asking questions. Because if each individual lot is considered individually, then we lose neighborhoods. Because this is a connected system that relies on each part of it. And right now, in my neighborhood, for example, there's like one lot that has a root system. And it's gonna be a very expensive repair for the city to get to when they're able to, and that's not fair for the rest of the community. So we have a lot of issues with the land use of these creek systems. They're a utility, they're on private property. They're welcome to have people come through and clean trash, but they're not welcome to have us repair them. There are some communities that may be able to lend this option, whether it be a land trust, whether it be an easement. Let's figure it out. Let's ask the questions. Let's keep asking questions. That's kind of what that means. I
Thank
hope
you.
it made a little more sense.
Responsible. Thank you so much. Thank you. So rainwater rewards. Just want to pull out number 4, Nichols Drive in Sutton. Cheaper because of the price tag associated with it. I don't know if other commissioners have questions on that. So $135,000 for this project. And we have 172,000, right? It's 196. So that would leave 6,000 left. It's been a while since we've had a community, like an apartment or townhome, or really an association, community association, homeowner association request rainwater rewards. So that is a good thing. I'm also mindful if we have 4 of these in a year, that we would have missed out on some smaller projects. I don't know if other commissioners, council commissioners have questions on that.
Yeah, I would just like further explanation kind of about somewhat the cost in general. It seems like a smallish cistern, the rain garden is up, 1,600. So just trying to figure out maybe where some of that.
Yeah, first off, good afternoon, good to see everyone. This is a project, pretty big project, 8 rain gardens, 5 cisterns throughout the entire community. Captures about a half an acre of impervious surface. So pretty large scale when compared to a lot of the other projects that you will typically see. We have targeted these type properties with our outreach to try to have more highly visible projects in communities that, have communities where a lot of folks can interact with them, and we can treat areas that had not previously considered that treatment in the past. We still want to maintain, to Reverend Taylor's point, we still want to maintain our residential base where we have a lot of participation, and staff have given a lot of thought to how we would manage applications through the end of the fiscal year. So at present, as stated, if all projects were approved through this meeting, this one would go to City Council for review on the consent agenda in April. So that would be potentially approved in April. That will leave about $25,000 left available funds moving forward. Currently, we have one application for April. So we have funding covered for all applications we received to date. We've also had staff has had communications with our budget liaison and talked about how we could move projects through a review process at the May or June meeting, similar to how we've done in years past, but not encumber those funds until funds are available at the beginning of the fiscal year, July 1.
Gotcha.
So with staff have given it considerable thought on the funding side of it, and happy to answer any other specific questions on the individual project itself. And one other thing, maybe a little bit of background, and for any new members, for projects that are requesting $5,000 or less, the commission has delegated approval authority down to staff to review. We don't see too many of those anymore. Projects that request 30,000 or less, the commission has that authority, that approval authority. And then in this case, anything that they request over 30,000 requires city council approval first, commission recommendation, and council approval. In addition, with that price point, there's other check boxes that they have to meet or requirements. They have to have land use restrictions, surveyed land use restrictions around all of these features that will be tied to the deed for the duration of the maintenance term, which is 10 years. So it's more stringent as there's more city investment. So a little bit of background, a little bit all over the place with funding questions and, what we're presenting today. More than happy to answer any specific questions that y'all may have.
So who's responsible for the maintenance?
The community is responsible for the maintenance. We have asked that question of them. They're going to contract that out for that 10-year duration.
How many residential units roughly is this?
That is a good question. I can go up to the board and count them for you. But I don't know. I know that when I walked the property at initial consult, it took about an hour and a half as we walked around and looked at potential areas. But the property itself, it's all of these units and then this whole section here. So just a quick glance, like 20 plus easy. But I can get the exact count for you.
Justin, your opinion, obviously this is beneficial. I don't know how to formulate my question. Yeah, you probably, I want to ask anyway. Do you have an opinion on the project, given, you said 8 rain gardens, how many cisterns?
5 systems.
5 cisterns.
Yes, sir.
Is it worth? We can't answer that. That's okay. Who else has a question?
Just in the way of framing that, right, when we kind of look at. When we look at like a normal house, and what we kind of approve for like, one single house or the kind of area that it's serving, is that another way of looking at how it benefits? I'm not really sure. I mean, we have all these metrics, right, but.
Right, so if I can just jump in, that might be a way of looking at it. You can look at some of these other projects that we shared. The metric is a pretty tried and tested number to compare things that are not exactly alike. But you just can look at the amount of stormwater capture, for instance. That's something folks can usually illustrate or visualize. 54,000 gallons a year there, 5 times that here. And you're looking at a price point.
Yeah, 25, so it's
I know I'm quoting the gallons, but you can do a similar exercise with just general costs. You could do it across nitrogen. The cool thing about the metric, which is not always fun to look at and dive into, is that compares it probably the best across all project types. And this one's not, as you can see, is I believe slightly below kind of the average that we're seeing. So that's how the city measures its tangible benefit. They obviously, the participant, receives a tangible benefit too, along with the maintenance. But they receive, those amenities and the management of that stormwater that in some cases are nuisance issues in their community that this can help them solve, so.
I think this would be a great example for other communities and opportunity to really market that and share that in other communities. That's what we've talked about,
Mhm.
expanding.
I was thinking along the same lines, and I think there's sort of another benefit that we don't, it's hard to quantify, but just the fact that so many people get to enjoy this and sort of learn from it. It's different than having an individual household having these projects. I think that's important too.
Do you have a sense of residents having support and interest in this?
This board was very interested. Because I had a very long walk around that property and they were very engaged. And they've been engaged throughout the whole process. This community, and we have a few other communities in the pipeline. These take a long time to develop. This was probably about a year in the works to get to this point. Not all with city involvement, but with a lot of the work falls to the applicant. So we have at least two other off the top of my head that are probably coming through the program potentially over the next year. So these type projects are gaining interest throughout the community, and we're not surprised at that, considering we have tried to reach out and draw some of these type projects out so we can expand the footprint of the program to these type projects.
A quick question.
Yes,
Is this an HOA community?
yes, ma'am.
Are the other projects that you have also HOA?
See, yes, I know one is.
So what I live in a non-HOA, was that more difficult? Because there's no board, there's nothing that you can say that non-HOA area could do. So 5 points, just
Right.
that, parts of that, and mine probably would not benefit, it's more of an HOA benefit.
That's
Sure.
probably a fair point. In situations that you may be describing, might be a call to the real estate office, and we have utilized them a lot. If y'all remember, there was one that came through right near Fletcher Park last year, Washington Apartments, or it was last year, HOA ownership, we had to pull in real estate. So there may be a path forward. We just have to be able to we have to legally be able to show that whoever's signing up and doing the work is allowed to do it in those areas. But generally speaking, I think you're spot on. I think HOA communities would be easier for them.
I think
Yes, ma'am.
Is there opportunity here for like signage or educational pieces? I know it's kind of very different than if it's a personal home and asking someone to sign up, right? But if it's a community, is there an
Absolutely.
opportunity for that?
We have that on the application, and our communications aerial is huge in offering that as an option to folks. I do not have whether or not that is in the proposal in front of me here. I can get that, but I don't recall if they have signage here or not. Other ones do, so top of my head, I don't recall. But yes, signage is supported. Staff has gone as far as to provide digital templates to help develop that signage. So they're just printing it off and installing it. So, and we're starting to see that more common than we did in years past. Huge opportunity, absolutely.
I know
There's
this-
also one more thing on the signage, sorry, Reverend Taylor.
Thank you.
We have retroactively installed signs or assisted folks install signs.
I know this is not far from the installation at St. Mary's in Glenwood. Do you know if that influenced this in any way?
They did not mention that, but
Okay.
that's a good observation.
Okay.
I'll definitely see. I'm sure that they see that feature, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm sort of marinating on is the breakdown, the cost breakdown and how it's the same for an HOA as it is for an individual household. And I just wonder if that's something that we would be interested in rethinking in the future, just because the HOA has potentially more pools of funding than an individual household. And I understand our Pigeon House branch 90% coverage, but I'm just wondering if this is going to be a thing that we see more of, if we could easily tap our resources if we use the same breakdowns for HOAs as we do for individual residential.
And I just have to say, as a reminder to everybody, there are many communities that have their own private stormwater retention, and the city isn't contributing anything. If anything, we have more restrictions and our HOA members have to contribute, even if it's a small community. So I just want to say that I would probably vote against it for that reason. I just don't think there's a realization that, the city is contributing $135,000, but private communities that never had any assistance, who have maybe failing stormwater ponds and bioretention devices and so forth, aren't getting any type of support. So just have to say that because it is an inequity that I have to point out.
I agree.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, I agree with Samantha too, and you as well, Melody, that being an HOA and it catches on that it could really tap the resources out very quickly. And just looking at that, knowing it's townhouses, there are at least 100 residences in there. I mean, minimum. And so that's a lot of people it does affect, but they also have resources that say one single family owner in the other neighborhood doesn't have. So I think if we were to approve this moving forward, it would need to be looked at or thought about is how an HOA and an association managed would be used, and if they need to contribute to a more equitable proportion.
I guess based on all the conversations around the table, is that part of what gets broached with the applicant when they come to you? The future and how it's gonna be maintained and.
Oh, absolutely. They have to sign a legal agreement with the city, holds them to maintaining it. And just to go back on the point, just a reminder to the group, all of this is above and beyond. None of this is required by any UDO or any development requirement. So, for any new members, I just want to make sure that's clear. The other way of looking at it is, one could argue, your smaller projects, while they are meaningful in a lot of ways, education outreach, awareness, and maybe addressing a small water quality or flooding nuisance, to make really meaningful impact in a neighborhood or a watershed, you're gonna have to look bigger than usually that smaller feature. So what the program has, with a lot of guidance from a lot of different places, has tried to, I would say recruit, but to try to maintain that single family home base, but to expand it to your larger properties and different property types. So y'all have probably seen a few more commercial properties than y'all have historically seen over the last year or two. And that's all, I want to say by design, but it's all because that has been a concentrated focus. So just a little bit more background there in response to the conversation.
Yeah, Wayne. And Justin alluded to this, but I do want to make it clear. The homeowner association, the private entity, will be responsible for the maintenance from this point forward. There's a maintenance agreement. They have to submit annual inspection reports. They will be paying for all of that, similar to how HOAs who have regulatory stormwater devices would have to do. So it's very similar in that regard. The main difference here, and this is Pigeon House Branch, an older part of town, was developed prior to us having stormwater control regulations, and so there are none here. And that's one of the reasons why projects here are beneficial, in that there were no stormwater controls, and this program helps control that impervious area where there were no stormwater controls prior because of the development patterns. And as opposed to after our stormwater controls, the neighborhood goes in. Usually the developer will put in the stormwater control measures. And yes, the homeowners then pay their share as part, it's basically rolled into the cost of the house as those are sold. But ongoing from this point forward, the maintenance responsibilities would be similar between this project versus an HOA that had a regulated stormwater control device. Just wanted to kind of clarify that.
But it's still $135,000 of city residents' taxpayer money, that's funding this, so versus a developer. So I guess that's where I'm coming from. And also just, again, to your point, making sure, there's equity in the program by showing that, per unit type of equation.
I think one concern I would have after what you just said is to make sure that these multifamily corporate owned entities do not come take advantage of this, that this stays a citizen. Or people that own the residences in here, it doesn't become the next best loophole for the developer.
So, just out of time, respect for time, we're gonna vote on these separately. We'll do the three, the Galaxy, Albemarle, and Bird. We'll do those up or down vote. And then we'll do Nichols and Sutton, keeping in mind that it goes on to council. So, you know, we can either send it to council that we think we should do this or we don't, but the final decision is in the hands of the city council. So may I have a motion to approve the Galaxy, Albemarle, and Bird applications to rainwater rewards? Nicola, the second, all in favor? Any opposition? No, okay. Motion for Nichols Drive and Sutton. Luann, I'll take the vice chair as second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. So be it. Okay, we move on. Thank you, Justin. Before we do move on, I know Melanie brought up this several times, and I think as we talk about budgeting, I'm glad the council is here. Granted, this has a lot of impact. You know, it would take, I don't know how many single-family homes to do the impact there, maybe 4 or 5. And to your point, there are developments that exist that the upkeep of the stormwater retention is a burden. So what is the response? I haven't heard a response. And so I think part of this work, this commission will forward in concert with council. Perhaps there'll be a new program that might emerge that's funded by the city that may go to the point that you said. Because in my mind, if we separate the dollar, there are 2 different things going on. This is, the rainwater rewards is an attempt to try to undo past, we didn't have stormwater regulation. New developments like yours, had that in consideration. So how can we look at both of those? And you talk about equity and moving forward. I think this is an opportunity for creativity. And I'm glad, your voice is at the table.
Thank you.
Is there a program currently that is exploring private stormwater devices? So we do have a presentation coming within the next couple of months. I'd have to check with Scott on HOA's stormwater control measures. There have been some changes to how the reimbursement accounts are managed. And there is money that is in an escrow account that has been collected because of legislative changes that is available now to help HOAs fund their inspections and their maintenance up to the amount of money that had been contributed by that development. And that's going to be, it's happening now, but we're going to come give you all an update on how that's working and how that reimbursement process is going.
Yeah, and for the record, I'm not against the concept of stormwater, obviously. I'm just saying it's more of the funding issue and how it gets spread around, that's all.
All right, so on to the 26th budget and rate proposal.
I will go through this a little quickly, because we're a little behind and I want to make sure we have plenty of time for the capture it voting, because that's really the most important part of the meeting. But the last couple of months, we've given you some previews of how our budget process works, talked a little bit about our impervious surface-based stormwater utility fee. We've talked about our capital improvements program and projects. And so I'd like to roll it together now and give you a preview of the budget presentation that we will be giving to City Council on April 7th. which is when the enterprise funds, which are separate funds that have a separate revenue source, like stormwater, like water and sewer, like solid waste, and like parking, will make their presentations to city council, as opposed to the general fund programs, like parks, like police, like fire. General fund are funded by property taxes and sales taxes primarily. So we're an enterprise fund. We don't get any taxes that contribute to stormwater. It's all funded by utility fee that's based on impervious surface. Okay, so big difference there. We've talked about our mission. We've talked about our vision, be stormwater smart. So everything we do is consistent with in this mission and vision. So I want to do a quick review of the last couple of fiscal years, and then I'll get into our budget proposal. Again, stop me if you have questions. One or two of you I know missed the last budget, the preliminary part of the budget presentation. But you all have been part and heard a lot about all of these programs that are ongoing. Our Rainwater Rewards program, our watershed studies. We had a Marsh Creek watershed study with lots of good engagement last week. That's our current watershed study, and we continue to use those studies as part of our ongoing community engagement. Our operationalizing equity to continue to work with Partners for Environmental Justice and other community groups for outreach. And you hear certainly a lot about drainage and stream stabilization, and more to come on those. And so here's a color-coded dots of all of the ongoing work that we have. Capacity improvements, water quality improvements, green stormwater infrastructure, drainage assistance, stream stabilization, and the purple outlines are the basin studies that have been occurring in the past. We are doing work in Marsh Creek right now, which is up here, which actually encompasses 3 different council districts, A, B, and C. And then we're starting some preliminary work down in the south side of town, which will be in C, and D, and some early data collection work is starting. So those are in the early stages. Our maintenance team, which some of you got to do a tour, probably been a year and a half or so now. We'll have to do another one of those tours here soon. I know Councilmember Jones went on a tour. Continue to really do a lot of incredible work. They have, in the last 5 years, have converted their program from almost exclusively reactive, meaning they would get a call for a problem and go out and fix it, now to a proactive preventive maintenance program where they are doing inspections and getting on preventive sequences. And that allows them to be so much more effective, so much more efficient, and prevent a lot of those problems before they even occur. And you can see it in the numbers here. Super work for our team. And all of that is contributed by our asset management program, which allows us to track all of that and make the predictions of where we need to be focusing that work soon. We have ongoing issues, ongoing problems. Still have flooding problems, still have aging infrastructure problems, still have water quality problems. But our programs are really starting to make headway. I think we're going in a very good direction in so many of these programs. Because we have solutions. You heard of CRS. We have flood early warning system. We have better floodplain regulations now. We're addressing a lot of those structural and capacity issues proactively. And we're developing one of the best green stormwater infrastructure programs in the country. So really proud of everything that the team's been doing. This is a pie chart you have seen before. Our watershed studies, our asset management program continue to identify known capital improvements that we need. The latest number that we're tracking is about $920 million of improvements. So lots of need. If we just kept doing things the way we've been doing them, our capital improvements budget this fiscal year is just under 14 million. It would take us over 60 years to get through this. But we are not going to keep doing things the same as what we've been doing. And we've been working closely with budget, with finance, and we're going to get, for the first time in the 20-year history of the stormwater program, the ability to use debt to fund our projects. And I believe this is a much fairer way of doing stormwater projects, because in the past, people that were paying the stormwater fees today were paying to build infrastructure that was gonna last 75 to 100 years. This way, it spreads out the costs of that stormwater infrastructure. And it allows us to do larger projects more quickly that we wouldn't be able to fit in a $14 million budget.
So Wayne,
So-
just one question.
Yeah, please.
The previous number was 850 million, that I remember. Was that last year or this year, or this was, like, what's the?
That was probably maybe 2 years
2 years
ago,
ago,
but
okay.
it does, there's two reasons it continues to go up. These are current year's dollars, so
Right.
2025, so escalation, construction costs, we do update those numbers, but we do continue to find more. We kind of have estimates in the areas that we haven't done the detailed studies, but as we do condition assessment, structural evaluation of our pipes and infrastructure, as we do the watershed studies, we do continue to identify new project needs. And for the tweaks, you may recall, Father Taylor, we're going away from complaints as the driver for capital improvements, right? Because we know complaints are not a fair way of setting priorities. Not everybody complains. Maybe some people have complained in the past, nothing happened, they've stopped complaining. So we're again trying to be much more proactive in terms of how we are identifying stormwater projects from our watershed studies, from our evaluations and condition assessment, and then objectively rank and prioritize those projects. So yes, the numbers do continue to go up, and they probably will. What we're hoping though is it starts to level off as we implement our capital improvements in debt service, and maybe we can level off, or at least start having those go down as we identify where we can continue to implement them more quickly. Good question. So here's a preview. I showed this last time. Here's the difference that debt allows us. From a $14 million capital improvements program in 1 year to over $30 million. And that's what debt allows us to do. And we've been preparing for this for years, getting projects ready, getting design ready, adding more project management capacity so that we can deliver this work to the community. And here's some examples. Can't go through every one of these, but any one of these projects would have overwhelmed our capital improvements program if we were trying to fund it in 1 year. But we will be able to fund all of these and all of these in 3 years now. That's the plan. All of these projects are underway in one way or another. And so it's a really exciting time. I mentioned we're already starting to get more projects into construction. That's nothing compared to what we're going to see over the next 5 years in terms of projects getting into construction, seeing real benefits to the community. Some big projects that many of these you'll recognize the names and have heard before. Operationally, we have four divisions inside engineering services, plus the folks here in transportation that do all the maintenance, fairly evenly divided in terms of operational costs. And glad to get any questions there. But I want to go through some highlights of what we will see in the FY26 proposed budget. We do have some proposed operating costs and personnel increases. The city is doing a compensation study right now that may result in some increases in pay for some categories. We will continue having some pay-as-you-go projects that are funded, as well as things like ongoing watershed studies. Those will stay. Rainwater rewards, drainage assist, those will stay in the pay-as-you-go. Those will not be funded with debt. It's really just those big infrastructure projects is what we plan to use for debt. And then we will be asking for some supplemental positions in engineering services, 6 staff, 3 maintenance staff here that will help with the structural condition assessment program, and then 2 more positions in parks for that green stormwater infrastructure maintenance crew. There was a 2-phase crew. The first 4 were in this fiscal year budget, and we'll round out that crew of 6 with the 2 more positions requested this year. And of course, fleet and equipment to support mostly those maintenance teams. Yes, please.
The 6 stormwater management, are those all project management related?
Yeah, so 2 of them are related to our NPDES MS4 and asset management program. We are getting a new MS4 permit this year, with some increased requirements, so we're adding staff there. One of them is the third floodplain management person that we've been forecasting that will work with Seamus and Allison. One is another inspector in Lauren Witherspoon's group that will help with single family home erosion sediment development inspections. One is a lead practitioner position that will help with quality control throughout the organization. Did I count? Is that 6? Was anybody counting? If no one was counting, I'll say that's 6. Yes, please.
With the project that you have, which looks amazing, it's gonna be kind of, does the staff increase that you're requesting cover that? Or is this in partnership with like vendor agreements will take on like contract out to help with those projects? Or is it, what is that?
So look, it's both. So these positions are all internal to the city that we're requesting. When we hire consultants to do designs of the project, those are included in the funding for the capital improvements in the overall budget. So when we, and it's tricky, when we estimate the cost of a project, like the Camp Pond Dam project, for example, we have to include the construction cost, we include the engineering cost for the design, we include the inspections cost, we have to include the easements costs for any land that we might have to purchase. So we all of those costs roll up to a capital improvements cost, and that's what is put in the budget. Sometimes over multiple fiscal years, because we start the engineering first, we'll often fund the design of a project in one fiscal year and the construction in a subsequent year. So for many of those debt projects, we've already funded the design with PAYGO so that we're ready when we go to construction. That's really when we need those debt service dollars is during construction. That's the most costly part.
And the construction phase of it, is that typically when we contract with, hire contractors to help build, or that internal
Builder.
stuff?
Yes. Typically construction is, we will contract out to builders, contractors. Now, we will also contract out to consulting engineers to do the design as well, typically. We do very little in-house design, a little bit for small projects, but mostly we're using consulting engineers to do the design.
And all those projects you feel are confident that they're going to be given to completion? It's not just that we're funding it, now we have to find someone. You already have the people that you need to complete the project.
Yes, these are all underway.
Thank you.
Here's the punchline. The request, and Javier came and talked last month about the rate model and how he projects all of these costs. We project the amount of impervious area increases per year, as well as a rate increase. And this forecast goes out 10 years because we don't want it to go like this. We want to have fairly steady increases to cover debt and other expected costs. The requested change is 57 cents per month per equivalent residential unit. So for most residential units on their monthly stormwater bill, that would be an increase of 57 cents. That would take the fee from $7.65 per month to $8.22 per month. That results in an increase in the total budget from 39.2 billion to 42.7 billion roughly, with that fee. And the full-time employees would go from 150 to 160. Here's some history of the stormwater fee over time. We started we're skipping years, so pay attention for clarity. Fiscal year 04 was our first year. We had no increases in the stormwater fee for the first 13 years of the program. It stayed at $4. In FY17, we had a $1 adjustment, and then we went 3 more years with no increase. And we were falling behind, frankly, in terms of the level of service that we were able to provide to the community. And in FY21, we had 50 cents increase, then $1. That was the big one, $1.50 increase. So those two helped us catch up quite a bit, fairly quickly. And then subsequent to that, 23, 24, 25, we've had relatively modest increases, 18 cents, and this year we're in right now is 29 cents. So a little bit more jump up. A big part of that extra jump is prepare for debt. Let me show you in just a minute here why debt impacts that. The reason is, here's our past years. This blue $7 million is what finance is telling us we should put into our fund balance. That's money that we do not spend, but that makes us more fiscally prudent when we go out to sell bonds to the banks on the bond market. It gives us an additional fund balance that gives us a better bond rating. We can get lower interest rates, and it's easier and more preferable debt treatment. So that's where that's 7. So that's a little different than what we've had to do in the past. But you also see the white bar is the 24.4. That's what we will plan to borrow next year using debt and then pay back over 30 years. So that's what gives us our big jump in the ability to have a larger capital improvements. There's a lot to unpack on here. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you for your work on this, Wayne. Is the vision of stormwater to move Raleigh's place compared to other cities? So I just pulled up your 2020 presentation. So Raleigh's right in the middle of the pack when as it relates to stormwater fee. At that time, Columbia, South Carolina was the highest at $14. Greensboro, the lowest at $2.50. Okay, you have it. I'm reading it. You have it.
Sorry.
Okay.
I just
Yeah. So, is the long-term vision to stay middle of the pack or to move our standing? Either way.
So I will say that's up to the community of the level of service and what our community is looking for us to do. Okay. I think it's important to understand, and you all are a part of that input and decision-making process, as well as the community conversations and other public meetings. What is the community telling us? Do we need to do more? Do we need to do less? Do we need to stay about the same? In general, the feedback has been, we want to do more. We want to do the capital improvements that you've identified faster. We like green stormwater infrastructure. We like better floodplain protection. So we've been moving very much in that direction and adding staff and adding capabilities and regulatory policies to get in that direction. You can only go so fast.
Right.
But the debt service will help us go faster. Okay. But to answer your question, we've stayed about the same. And what I see is all communities in this range are really hearing the same thing from their residents. There have been a lot of increases in stormwater fees lately. In fact, this is way more detailed than you need, but this is the key number. This fiscal year, about 10% increase was about the typical for the communities that we compare. There are peers in North Carolina, and we also use other state capitals in the southeast part of the country as kind of our peers. So we are staying in the same range of increases compared to our peer cities. So as a result of that, we're not really moving up or down. But I will say, I think we provide a lot of service for the fee that we get. We always try to be very cost effective. We try to be cognizant of how we use the funds and prudent. We need to be good stewards of the communities for the community's money.
One question, so looking at the peer community comparison, I'm wondering, and I'm not familiar with the stormwater policies, and projects that these communities have, but I know, for instance, living in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle was a leader in stormwater management. So one thing I'm wondering is, what are the cities that we see as leading stormwater doing? And are they among any of these that are listed in the peers list?
Yeah. So for example, Seattle, and Seattle's a little different because they have a combined sewer system. So that's kind of a unique animal, but their stormwater fee, I believe, last time I checked, it was around $28 a month versus ours is about you know, in the $7 to $8 range. So they're, you know, and a lot of that is being driven by that combined sewer type of system, which is complex and very difficult to manage overall. I would say probably the one that Charlotte is probably the best example in North Carolina of what I would consider a mature and progressive stormwater program. They have a lot of programs. They are a FEMA cooperating technical partner already. That's where we're trying to go. And so, and they've been using debt service for over 10 years now. So they have been implementing a lot more capital improvements projects and have more maintenance needs. So, you know, we're probably 10 years behind kind of from a maturity standpoint where Charlotte is. But I've talked to them and we're doing some things they're not too. So, but they're, you know, and we talk among communities that share lessons learned, but they're probably the one that I would consider the most progressive.
Are they still connected with the county? Back when I lived there.
They are. That's something else a little unique between Charlotte and Mecklenburg County has a joint government. Now, the way they do that from a stormwater program is they share services. So for example, the city of Charlotte does all of the capacity and grade infrastructure, and the county does all of the green infrastructure, water quality programs, and all the floodplain management is done by the county. So it's a little bit different. Yes, so I think this be, I have to check out, is this the city and the county, Javier, do you know? I know they build together, correct, for Charlotte. So this is both together. Yeah. So that's the city and the county fixed together. And then they divide that money up amongst their programs. Okay. So I know I'm running late. Here's an example of single family impervious surface would go from to $8.22. One example of a commercial property that has about 21 equivalent units would go up to $172. And with that, at this point, the commission has an option. You can receive this information and do nothing. There is no obligation. Or if you feel like the proposed fee increase is something you would like to endorse or recommend to city council, you gotta be able to do that. Or you would be able to say, we recommend against this fee as well. And then we will take that recommendation, endorsement or not, when we present to city council on April 7th.
Thank you, Wayne. Any questions for Wayne? I want to call for a motion to endorse. Before I do that, I think, you know, Raleigh has this amazing stormwater program. And if we're doing amazing things with this fee, I think, you know, we could do perhaps more amazing things with the increased fee. And I'm not saying we increase the fee more, but if the goal is over the next 15 years or 10 years to catch Charlotte, then I think we will need to change the slope so we can get there. So that we're not just middle of the pack, but maybe moving close to Charlotte. And the community is saying they're wanting more, then sell it. You know, if we had this amount, then we could do these things, because I think the community is supportive. May I have a motion to accept Wayne's presentation with the proposed rate increase for 2026? Okay, Samantha, there's a second. Okay, Nicola, all in favor? Any opposition? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Capture it.
Does everybody have a smartphone button? Okay, yeah, if you can pull out your phone, that'd be great. And you should have received an email from Scott Bryant with the link to vote. You can find that email, click that link. And for those that haven't met yet, my name is Ariel Michelle. I am the communications analyst for Raleigh Stormwater.
Dory, the community relations analyst.
Yes.
We're managing Capture It, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, but if you're not, it's the annual art video contest. It's open to students in grades 8 through 12 who live in or attend school within Raleigh. We present them with this prompt to bring awareness to the community about the need to improve water quality in Raleigh's ways. They interpret that in a lot of fun and creative ways that we're excited to share with you all. The winner will receive, in each category of art and video, will receive a $500 check, be recognized at the Dorothy birthday celebration by the SMAC chair. And there will be a month-long gallery at Wood Youth and Arts Gallery for all participants. Whether they
Yeah, yeah. And the art gallery was something new that we did last year, and we saw that it was really, really popular. A lot of the students really appreciated coming out and their parents seeing their artwork being displayed. So we, definitely want to continue doing that for future contests. So that will be coming up next. So we'll definitely share details with you all once we have that.
Yeah, so this year we have 67 entries, which we believe is a record for this competition. So a team of staff had a job earlier this week of narrowing that 67 down to 5 in each category. And today you guys are going to decide the winners in each. So like Ariel mentioned, you should have a link pulled up for Microsoft Forms. On that form, does everyone have that pulled up? Right? Yes.
In that email? If not, I can come and help.
Yeah.
Yes, you have the link. I still get the email.
You should start it? Yes, you
Yeah,
should. Oh,
please
yes,
start.
sorry. Let
Yeah.
me,
It's in the reminder.
It was on Scott's motion or something.
Yes.
Yesterday or the day.
yes, yeah, it was in that reminder email that Scott sent out. If not, I can quickly send you that email.
But within that form, you'll see each piece in a star rating of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. So you're gonna rate each just based on messaging, creativity, quality. And the winner will not be announced today. This is just to get your rating. After you guys vote, I will calculate the form will calculate the average. From that average rating, we will determine the winner. The finalists were notified of this meeting, so they may be watching online, so just keep that in mind if you have any reactions. But yeah, with that, is there anything else? Yeah. All right, well, we'll start with the artwork. I'll read off the title, pause for a few seconds so you can read the description, take in the art. We'll go through art twice just to make sure you guys get a full picture of everything before we get to video. Yeah.
So we're gonna go through then vote on each category, then go to the next category.
Correct.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And if you have any questions midway through, just let me know. Sweet. Sound good? Okay. This is our future starts here. No time left. Our impact. Eutrophication. Nature's engineers. This one has a long description, so. So those are our arts submissions. I'll go through them one more time. Was that speed too fast, too slow?
Is the goal to have our stars match the ranking?
No, so you can give them all 5 stars, and
Okay.
all 4 stars. Yeah, it's just however you want to assign that. Yeah, there's not like one has to have each thing.
And we just hit next when we're done.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. Ready for round 2?
Yep, right.
Feature starts here. No time left. Our impact. Eutrophication. And nature's engineers. Those are our video, our entries. Anyone do you want to go back to or any questions about it? Okay, we can move on to video.
The videos, I don't see the, yeah, everyone should now see the video portion, voting on their phone. Okay.
Sound good. Okay. So the videos will play automatically, so I won't name the title, but I'll say it once the videos are done playing. And if anything's too loud, too quiet, just let us know. I think we can adjust the volume. So, yeah. Okay.
Today we're discussing a serious issue, how water pollution impacts our beloved marine life.
Imagine trying to swim through a massive oil spill. It's a terrible situation for marine life. Oil spills coat animals with sticky substance, leading to suffocation and starvation.
Turtle spots a plastic bag but mistakes it for a jellyfish. Eating plastic can rupture internal organs and causes blockages, often leading to the death of marine life.
Plastic has been found in 60% of seabird species and 100% of sea turtle species. Talk about a bad dietary choice. Birds mistake trash for food all the time, leading to harm in our animals.
Nutrient pollution causes algae blooms, creating dead zones where marine life can't survive. Imagine trying to breathe in a room full of smoke, but underwater. We're all in this together. Reducing single-use plastics, supporting eco-friendly products, and participating in cleanups can make a huge difference.
Wrap it up, remember that our small actions on land can create big waves in the ocean. Let's keep our marine friends safe and their homes clean. Join our cause, because every drop of water in the ocean counts.
That's how water pollution affects marine life.
Here in Raleigh, water impacts everything we do. Water is life. It's beautiful, it's fun, and sometimes it's even a challenge. But without it, we wouldn't be where we are today. Just as water sustains us, we have the power to sustain Raleigh's lakes and streams. Simple actions can make a big difference. Every bottle recycled keeps our waters clean. Every drop saved protects our streams. And every choice we make helps guard what matters. Raleigh's waters give us so much, so let's learn to give back to them. We can't let Raleigh's beauty wash away. Together, we can keep our streams flowing, our lakes thriving, and our communities strong. The future of our water depends on the steps we take today.
Small acts, big splash.
Once upon a time, in the heart of Raleigh, there was a stream full of life. The fish danced, the birds sang, and the water sparkled like glass. But as time passed, the people of the kingdom forgot their stream's magic. They dumped toxic potions onto the land, let plastic waste drift into the water, and soon the stream withered under a dreadful curse. The creatures cried for help, but none came, until one day a hero appeared. They knew the curse could be broken. With every piece of trash collected, every storm drain protected, and every tree planted, the stream's magic began to return. And so, the people remembered their duty to protect the stream so it and the animals that lived in it could live happily ever after. The magic is in your hands. Keep our water clean and protect our streams.
That was the magic is in your hands to protect our streams.
Psst, let's save runoff.
It's Nana J. Disley.
Dizzy on the beat, bro. We hoes fertilizer going down the street, bro. Rain down, come and mix it up in the creek. So take it down to the rivers, ruin quality mode. What's up with all the boneheads that only care about their yard? Over hose and fertilize, but in the streets they discard. Using pesticides less cause they getting in it all. These can kill the creatures in the nudes and in the fall.
Say Raleigh, you better listen up. Don't leave your mulch in the streets for rain to clean it up. You think it's no biggie, but those chemicals get around in the drains within the streams and deep into the ground. Slap, 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 take your dirt and cover up. Slap, 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 be responsible and do your stuff.
Don't you know our ecosystem getting really tired? Trying to save the earth, you gotta start with fertilizer.
Save it like us, save it like us, save it like us.
Cover it up, cover it up, cover it up.
Now step this way, step that way. Now step this way, step that way.
Save it like us.
Stormwater runoff occurs when precipitation flows over impervious surfaces like sidewalks, driveways, and streets, preventing the water from soaking into the ground. The runoff will then flow to a nearby storm drain or body of water. Pollutants such as spilled trash, lawn chemicals and fertilizers, and even animal droppings can taint the fresh water supply, leaving it undrinkable and uninhabitable for aquatic flora and fauna. To stop the spread of runoff pollution into fresh water, we can pick up any trash on the ground, use less chemicals to grow our grass and plants, and pick up after our pets. It is up to us to take care of our water. The world can be much brighter when we start taking care of it.
Those are all our entries. Does anyone have any issue voting, getting your ratings in? Yeah, make sure you hit submit. And I'll be in touch with the SMAC chair about organizing the Dorothea Dix birthday celebration.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so now we're on to the election of chair, vice chair, planning commission, liaison. I do know that Graham is interested in chair, Nicola in vice chair, and Samantha as liaison. So what I want to do is I want to open the floor for nominations. Of course, these three have submitted their names or made it be known that they're interested. Doesn't mean others cannot be nominated. Open the floor for nominations and close the floor for nominations, and then we'll vote. So I may have a motion that we open the floor for nominations for chair, vice chair, and planning commission liaison. Okay, is there a second? All right, all in favor? No opposition. Are there any other nominations other than Graham, Nicola, and Samantha? Hearing none, then may I have a motion to close the floor for nominations? Second, all in favor? Very good. Now, may I have a motion, we accept the slate for stormwater leadership with Graham as chair, Nicola as vice chair, Samantha as planning commission liaison. I will, may I have a motion for that? Okay, and when second, all in favor? No opposition. Congratulations to the new class. So that ends our meeting. Just before I call for motion to adjourn, just word of gratitude. This is my 6th year on SMAC, and it's been an honor and pleasure to serve. When I came on SMAC, there was very little conversation. People would present, there were no questions. And so as vice chair and then chair, I was vice chair. I've been chair for 3 years, vice chair for 1. My goal was to help build community with the ultimate goal of getting more conversation. And that has happened. So thank you for sharing your thoughts and opinions, for being very active. And also one of my goals in being on SMAC was to bring voice from southeast Raleigh, from the Walnut Creek wetland and that watershed, as we talked about equity and engagement, and certainly the consulting group that Stormwater reached out to in Atlanta that did the report that we reviewed, I think in November, December, was certainly one of the things I'll remember as helping lead SMAC. So I know that you're in very good hands. It's been an honor working with Wayne and other Stormwater staff as we had our conversations. Before we even meet, we talk at least twice before the meeting, sometimes 1 or 2 hour meetings as we prepare for these meetings. And I think that has helped to increase communication and build community in this very important commission. So, yes, Wayne.
Mr. Past Chair, may I have one item of other business?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Absolutely.
Will you join me at the front of the
I would
room?
join you at the front.
I feel like I've grown up in my position with you. You started on the commission less than a year after I started in my position, and we've done so much together over the past 6 years. We will miss you very much. Your influence has been huge in terms of bringing awareness to equity issues, bringing the perspective of the community, the nonprofit places of worship, I think are a big part of our perspective now. And so there's no way I can thank you enough, but we would like to present you a small token of appreciation. Father Taylor, your influence will be felt in this program for years and I think decades to come in terms of the policy changes that we've made, the improvements. We've come so far. Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn, buddy. We're good.
20-minute conversation with Reverend Taylor.
So thank you for the vote. Look forward to working with Nicola and Samantha. I guess we can adjourn, I guess. The call, anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, second. Second, Dan, okay. All in favor? All right, let's do it.
All right, thank you.
See you in a month.